Pow!
Welcome to Thunder Nerds. I'm Brian Hinton.
And I'm Frederick Philip Von Weiss, and you are consuming the Thunder Nerds, a conversation for the people behind the technology that love what they do.
And do web good.
Pow! And today we are here with somebody who does web good. We are with Mete Atamel.
Wow, that was really good.
Yeah.
Good
First
job.
try.
Yeah.
He's lying.
Tigers. Bears. Hey, man, tell us all about you. What do you do?
So my name is Mete, as you said.
Yes, perfectly, if I might add.
I'm a developer advocate at Google. I'm based in London.
Oh, okay.
Excellent.
And I'm here for a conference next week, and this week it's my first time in Florida, actually.
Oh, okay. How you liking it?
I like it. I mean, I just came last night, and at the airport there was like huge, crazy lines and stuff like that. So it took me a long time to get out.
Yeah, I heard there was some kind of
there
was explosion with
battery
some kind of battery.
Yeah. So it was crazy, but then the weather is definitely much nicer than London. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, what's it like there right now?
I mean,
Is it
London,
winter there?
Yeah, it is winter. I mean, in London, the weather is basically just 15 to 20 degrees Celsius, like all year long. So we don't really have seasons.
Oh, that is fantastic.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
No seasons.
I'm moving into London.
Yeah, me too. That sounds wonderful.
If you like cloudy and rainy all year long.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Well, you can swap actually.
Yeah,
I can swap.
no problem. Did you ever watch the Addams Family?
Yeah.
Okay, do you remember how like their house was always like everywhere else in the neighborhood was sunny, but their house was always like rainy and clouds? Yeah. I'd love that.
So it's kind of like that, but the whole city is like that.
That sounds beautiful to me. Yes, I'll take it.
You know, it's funny how people miss things they don't have. You know, because
grass is always greener.
Yeah, exactly.
If you talk to people in London, they'll be like, "Oh, I love Florida. I love California because of the sun and all that." You know.
Yeah, everyone we've spoken to today that's from up north or somewhere, not Florida, they're always like, "This is so great. It's beautiful," and we're both like. Okay.
Yeah, it's hot.
It's hot.
Yeah. Just walk into your mailbox, you feel like you need a shower.
I do usually. I just go get the mail and I go inside and shower.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of mandatory. So what's the other conference you're doing?
So that's Visual Studio Live next week.
Oh, awesome.
Very
Oh,
cool.
There's some exciting stuff with that.
Yeah.
Where's that?
Somewhere in Orlando. It's close here, but I have to check.
Okay, cool.
That's cool.
But yeah, it's basically a .NET conference, and one of my roles at Google is I talk about running .NET applications on Google Cloud. So I'm going to talk about that in a talk, and we're also going to have a booth and stuff where I'm going to be speaking to other developers. So it's exciting.
Oh, that's so awesome. Yeah. So and then you have to go back to foggy old London town, right?
No, I think from there I'm going to Miami for the weekend because I never been to Miami.
Oh,
nice.
yeah. Do you enjoy? They have lots of the sun.
Okay.
Yeah, the fantastic murals there as well. Nice. Really good food.
Oh yeah, there's like
excellent food.
There's like a region,
my God,
right? What's the region in Miami that has all the murals?
Shoot, I know it, but I can't think of it right now. They have the Art Basel every year, which is a really big like art festival type thing where there's so much art that happens in murals and things like that.
Cool.
So yeah.
Yeah, nightlife there is very nice.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll have a great time.
All right, I hope so.
That's cool. So you're doing that, then going back, and so what is your day-to-day like there?
So as a developer advocate, I do a couple of things. The first thing is get out there at conferences and talk about Google Cloud-related technologies. So that's usually a talk or a workshop or a meetup or something like that. Like in any way, I can basically talk to people. And the second part of the job is basically get people's feedback about Google Cloud technologies and bring that back to engineering, because we want to make sure that people are happy with stuff. And if they're not happy, I want to understand why, and then bring that feedback to our engineering so that when they build things, they do what people want. So we really care about external developer experience, and we try to talk to people. So that's part of my job to do that, basically.
Oh, okay, that's really cool. That must be so much fun. How did you get into doing that?
Well, I was a software engineer for a long time, like 11, 12 years. But at the same time, I was also speaking at conferences once or twice a year, and I really enjoyed it. And then I realized that there's actually a full-time job where you can do this,
Wait, I can do this all the time?
Yeah, and to me,
done.
Yeah, it's like a hobby turned into a job kind of thing.
Yeah, that's nice. That gets back to what our previous person said as their takeaway was that if you find something that you love to, and it's no longer work. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just your everyday thing that you enjoy doing.
Yeah, and then it fits perfectly with my interest because I like to learn a lot of different things and talk about them or write about them, but I don't want to do the same thing for a long time. And this job is perfect for that because you can learn something interesting, talk to people about it, and once you're bored, you find something else to learn and talk. So
that's awesome. I love that.
Yep, same here.
Do you mind going into then a little bit about what you did talk about today?
Yes, today I talked about containers and Kubernetes and Google Cloud.
How do you say that again?
Kubernetes.
Kubernetes?
Well, the thing is, okay, so
Kubernetes.
there's two ways of saying it, one right way and one wrong way.
Right.
So
mine was wrong.
Kubernetes?
Yeah, that's what everyone says. So Kubernetes, the word itself is Greek. And it means governor.
Okay.
Well, that's interesting.
And it kind of makes sense because it's a container management platform, so it governs like containers.
Docker.
Yeah. So, but the right way of saying Kubernetes is Kubernetes, actually. Kubernetes. Yeah,
and I'm horrible.
And the reason why I know that is because I'm originally from Cyprus, so Greek is one of the languages there.
Good on you.
But since Kubernetes came up in the US, I guess whoever came up with the name started calling it Kubernetes, so wrongly.
That's funny.
Now everyone, including me, also calls it Kubernetes because that's what people know.
Yeah.
But if you know the correct pronunciation, it's basically Kubernetes.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Like people saying JSON or JSON.
Yeah, the B is like a V, basically.
Yeah. And U is actually kind of like I, like so it's Kiver rather than Kuber. So
okay. So what are some of the takeaways then from your talk with it? Like what did you dive into, and what were the kind of the needs that you?
Yeah, first, basically in my talk, I talked about why you need containers, because a lot of people switch to containerized world, but a lot of people are still like kind of trying to figure it out. So I just covered that first, like what does it mean to be in a containerized world, why you should do it, what are the benefits. So that was kind of like the first 10 minutes. And then after that, once you switch to containers, it's not enough. You still need to run code in production. You still need to worry about resiliency, redundancy, configuration, auto-scaling, all this kind of stuff that you need to worry about in production. So that's kind of like the motivation for Kubernetes and why we have these container management platforms. So I talked about that, and then I talked about the Kubernetes building blocks. So what does Kubernetes actually give you to make these things easier? So I talked about what's called deployments, pods, volumes, replica sets, all the good things that Kubernetes gives you. And I showed some demos on Google Cloud because it's an easy way to run Kubernetes in Google Cloud. So I showed demos there, and yeah, that was it.
Interesting. So what got you really into those Kubernetes? I think I said that right.
Well, I mean, what got me interesting is first, containers as a concept is really interesting because it allows you to write your code and run it exactly the same way everywhere. And to me, I always hated the fact that, I write a piece of code and then I always have to worry about it. Like, is this going to run correctly on Windows? Is this going to run correctly on Linux? Or is this going to run correctly if it's a Java code on JVM 1 point whatever, To me, that was something that I shouldn't have to worry about. Like, I should just write my code and someone else should worry about that.
Exactly, yeah.
Because I have enough problems to deal with, you know what I mean? But with containers, you can basically specify what your environment should be like. You can basically say, this is my dependency, this is my environment, my ports, my environment variables, all that kind of stuff. And then Docker basically makes sure that the environment that you specify runs exactly the same way everywhere. And to me, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So I don't have to worry about it myself.
That's wonderful.
So that's how I got into containers. But then once you get into containers, then I'm like, okay, what about the rest of the stuff that I had to do in Java world, for example? Like, because in Java world, you have an application server and you do things in a certain way. So how do I do these things in containers? And that's when I started looking into container management platforms. And Kubernetes is one of the most popular ones. So I said, okay, I'll start looking at this. And then from then on, I just kept using it because I think it's the best one, to be honest.
That's awesome. And now you're going around speaking about it.
Yep, exactly, yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. So what got you into development in the first place?
Well, I guess it all started with coding. So for me, coding was like a hobby as a kid as I was growing up. I had a good friend who was playing games, but he also had a book on GW Basic. And I was like, and I saw him once. He was trying to do something with GW Basic, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm just trying to write some code to do some sounds or something like that on the computer. And the idea of like making computer do what you want really appealed to me, and that's how I got into programming as a kid.
Power, do what I want, computer.
Yeah, exactly.
I do that with Siri now.
It doesn't work half the time.
So that's how I got into programming, and then after that, it was kind of like a hobby. And then when I went to college, I said, okay, what should I study? What do I like? It was programming, so I studied computer science. And after that, I'm like, okay, what job should I do? And I'm like, well, they pay for this stuff, so I might as well be a programmer.
Yeah.
So I started like doing it. It never felt like a job to me, to be honest. Like it always felt like, you know, I'm doing something I like, and they actually pay for it. You know,
Isn't that nice? You get to play, and somebody just put some money in your account.
Yeah,
That was great.
Do they know this isn't work? That's kind of like, and now you seem to be, as you were saying earlier, you seem to be at the next level, because you're not only getting to do the, you know, playing around with code and doing interesting things, but you get to go out and advocate for it, that must be amazing.
Yeah, I really like it, because I like to
travel. You get
to get out of London.
Yeah, that's true. Any chance I get to get some sunshine, you know. Yeah, I mean, I love traveling anyway, and I also like to talk to people and explain to them what I know, and also learn from them, because I don't know everything, right? So just being able to do that as part of your job is really good for me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. That's so much fun.
Yes.
You know, one of the things we like to ask people is, if you weren't doing what you do now, and you couldn't be around a computer, what would you be doing?
Wow, that's a tough question.
It is. It's very tough. I think 10 seconds.
10 seconds. I think I would be a teacher.
Teacher? Yeah. What kind of teacher?
I mean, I like math, because
I
used to be a math major, so I could totally be a math teacher. Or I also did like philosophy at my college. Like I was a philosophy minor, and I really like my philosophy classes, because you talk about anything, and people have so many different like perspectives about certain things. So you think that you know something, but then people tell you something that's totally different than from what you think.
And it can challenge your brain.
Yeah. And then I also always find myself, like, whenever I'm stressed at work or something, I just walk around. As I'm walking, I'm always pondering stuff like this anyway. So I could totally see myself being like a philosophy teacher or something like that.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Huh. Nice.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
And not a goat farmer. But.
No, not a goat farmer. We just talked to somebody that was a goat farmer. So
okay.
Yeah.
If it makes them happy, yeah, why not?
Exactly.
Yeah, goats sound adorable.
Make yourself happy. That's what.
Yeah, that's cool. So, what's your future like? Are you think that you're going to be doing more of the evangelist kind of thing completely? Or are you looking to get out of development? Or
I mean, that's a good question that I keep asking myself, because I've been in this role for 1 year, 9 months, something like that. And so far it's been really fun, and I'm not really thinking of anything else to do immediately. But as a next step, like I sometimes ask myself, so what do I want to do next? Do I want to go back to like being full-time software engineer, or do I want to do something else? I haven't decided yet. I mean,
leading advocates.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's
championing for the advocates.
Yeah.
Or I mean, so I guess the main question for me is how.
Give them a raise.
The main question for me is like, so being a developer advocate, even though I'm still quite technical, I don't spend like 8 hours or 10 hours a day in front of a computer anymore.
Yeah,
so that makes it, by definition, a little bit less technical than someone who would be in front of a computer.
Right. Yeah.
So I guess I need to decide whether this is the path I want to go, where you're less technical, or whether I want to go back to my roots where I'm like super technical. We'll see.
Yeah, you know what? You strike me as somebody that would be very much good at being an advocate for doing what you do, but in a place like Florida, for instance. Just throwing that out there.
What's in Florida?
Maybe permanently remote work.
Yeah, exactly. You can still do that, but just in Florida, because you enjoy the sun.
Yeah, I enjoy the sun, that's for sure, yes.
Well, we're getting to the end. Do you have any kind of final words that you'd like to share with our audience? Any words of wisdom or anything you'd like to tell them about?
Sage advice?
Yeah.
Advice. I mean, I always tell tech people that keep learning, because our field changes so much.
Oh, yes.
And I always find it really hard for myself to keep up to date. So yeah, don't get comfortable with technology, and don't get attached to technology, because you get attached and then the technology goes away and then you don't know what to do. It happened to me, actually. That's why I'm saying it. Yeah, so make sure you stay up to date, learn as much as you can, and also at the same time, try to have some kind of focus too, so that you're known for something.
Yeah.
That's great advice, yeah. All right, well, great. Well, hey, man, thanks for being on the show. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
See you guys. Thank you.